Hello and welcome to the Creator Toolbox. This is the web series that brings you a whole bunch of tools on the Now platform to help you become a more effective developer. My name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow, and I am joined by...
My name is Brad Tilton, and I am also a developer advocate here at ServiceNow.
And we have something very popular these days. Brad is going to be covering another segment of UI Builder. We're doing something specific. I won't steal the details away from him, but before we get into that, Brad, this is not live coding happy hour, so we don't have to share what we're drinking, but are there any announcements we'd like to get out of the way real quick?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't think of it. We do have a live coding happy hour on Thursday afternoon. Just a reminder that we switched from Fridays to Thursdays for the summer. But other than that, I don't know. Any news?
Regional developer meetups are still going on.
Ooh, that's right. We
got India last week. We did APJ about 12 hours ago. And we'll be getting those videos posted to our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to experience what happens. They're generally the same format, but a little bit different discussion among the people when we talk about things like what went well and what would you like to see at CreatorCon. So we still have Americas to go on June 9th. And EMEA on June 10th, I believe, are the two dates for that. I just socialized the Americas one. So watch for those on social media, watch for them on the events, watch for them on meetup.com. We invite you to attend. Whether you're just curious, you've never been to a meetup, this is a great way to find out what the meetups have to offer and what's coming in Q3 for your local chapter. Or maybe you're interested in starting a chapter. This is a great time to just find out what the developer community is all about. And we look forward to seeing you there. So keep your eye out for those. Okay, with that, let's get into our content. What are we building today?
All right. Well, today we're going to spend some time in UI Builder. So I wrote a CreatorCon workshop years ago. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 CreatorCons ago, and it was making service portal widgets talk to each other. So building custom service portal widgets and sending events back and forth. And then that workshop kind of served as the basis for the custom widget service portal training that's on the developer site. And I saw that the other day and was like, you know, I think we could do this in UI Builder without any custom components. It'll involve a little bit of scripting, but I think we can make this happen pretty much the same way, just using the out-of-the-box components. So I've been messing around with it a little bit, and I think it is possible, and that's what we're going to do on the show here. It'll be a little less scripted than some of our other creator toolboxes, but hopefully I can guarantee success at the beginning here. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Any questions from anyone before we jump in? I saw a question in the chat about are we planning on doing one of these on how to use GraphQL? I think that's a great topic that we will add to the backlog for Creator Toolbox or Live Code.
Noting it now.
Yeah, GraphQL is pretty widely used in UI Builder, so that's, you know, I think we won't actually do any GraphQL, but I think one of the data resources we'll use is a GraphQL data resource.
I'm also looking at putting GraphQL into the integration series.
Oh, nice.
So it did come up. I was covering web services, and as I was doing some research, you know, right up there with SOAP and REST is GraphQL. And I said, okay, I can't ignore this any longer.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh, this is going to be tricky. I'm going to share my screen at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I should have been pushing buttons today.
That's all right. I want you, and then we'll hit the button real quick. There we go. And then we're not doing Flow Designer scripting, but I'll get that.
There we are.
We are doing UI Builder. There we go. All right. So let's see. I think we need a zoom. I think that's as far as I want to go because of the issues.
Yeah, we
with
should really
UI
talk to
Builder.
some of our designers about making this more readable on videos.
If only we had a designer that frequently joined our live coding happening. Okay, so let's start with looking at the custom widgets training. So the custom widget training, I think, consists of 2 widgets. So I have a list of notes on the left. I can add a new note. I can filter them. I think when I add a new note, it just creates like a stub title and body. And then on the right here, I've got my note that I can change the title or change the body of the note. So it's just a really simple note-taking app. And the goal was to show how to make custom widgets and show how they can talk to each other. So
I hope nobody came into this show with the expectation we were going to be covering Lotus notes.
Well, converting from, sure. Yeah. So we're gonna have a few widgets and then or a few components. I don't know how many more times in my life I will mix up widgets and components, but it's got to be at least double digits. So yeah, we're going to build out something like this. It won't look exactly the same because this is all bootstrappy and our UI builder stuff is not bootstrap. But let's go ahead and hop into UI builder. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start adding some components. I like this layout with the 2 sidebars because generally I don't like stuff that stretches the whole screen. So we're going to put some things in the middle here. Whenever I start a page, I always start with a container. When in doubt, add a container and put something inside of it. Just gives you a lot more options on, making things into rows or columns or all sorts of stuff. So we've got that going, and we are going to, I also like to use the content tree on the left here to add my components because I can tell it directly where they're going to be. So we're just going to add a stylized text component, and we're just going to call this my notes. And then I'm going to add a container, and then we're going to use a fun component. I think it's called resizable panes.
Oh, interesting.
So this is kind of cool. So it's kind of like a container, except it's a component that has 2 slots in it. So a slot is just a place in a component where you can add another component. So if you think of a container is really just a component with 1 slot, the main slot.
It's almost like a flexible container.
It is a flexible container. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a, let's just add a list on the left, and I'm going to use a simple list. And then on the right, I'm going to add a container because we're going to add a couple of things. And then I want let's just add an input. And then, so you'll notice the input actually has some slots too. And that's so that you can put icons at the beginning and the end, or a button or something at the beginning or end of the input. So we've got the input, and then I'm going to add another input. I clicked too many times. So we want a text area on this one. I don't know if that's an input or if it's something else. Let's say text area. It is a text area. All right. So if I save this and we look at it, let's see what we have so far. So I went through that all pretty quick. So right now we've got this list here. I can resize this, which is nice.
Oh, it's resizable real time. I thought that was just like a
Yeah.
design time thing.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
far out.
resizable, and you can set the defaults, which we're going to do. All right, so we've got that. That looks good. I am going to add some padding to our container. How about 15 pixels. That looks better. And then let's start with this simple list. So one of the things I like about the simple list is you can really do a lot in terms of making it look very, very simple. And so what do we have here? So
Grant, I'm curious, does that resizable pane have a top to bottom feature, or is it just side to side?
that's a great question. Let's see.
I thought there should be some
Panes.
configuration in there.
Yeah, there is some configuration. I think it's just left to right, but that is a good question for somebody. So one of the things that is nice about it is you can set the default divider position. So
Yeah.
it's at 25%. And then you can also tell it, hey, you can't go smaller than, 20% to the left. And
That's
same.
nice.
And max, obviously, you can't go past 100%.
I love how those are JavaScript. They're JSON instead of just discrete fields.
All right, we'll get there, I think. All right, so let's go ahead and make this list point at my notes table. So I didn't mention this. I have a really simple notes app that I added. It's basically just a table with notes in it. And I think we can do this filter where the author is dynamic me. And then, can I order it from here? Well, let's start it there.
Well, that's interesting.
All right, so I think 4 notes is right. I think I've got 4 notes that are mine. And then we want to do some, so I don't want the header. I don't want the title. I guess the header has the title in it. And then let's add some columns. And I think I only want the title column. I don't really care what the, there we go. So let's save that and see what it looks like. Refresh.
Simple list.
All right, and I'm gonna give us some more space. Let's make that resizable pane. Let's make it 40. All right, so that's our list. Pretty straightforward there. So what we need to do now is we need a place to store the sysid of the note that I click on, so I can then reference that sysid from a data resource and then pull some data. So I am going to create a new client state parameter. You can think of a client state parameter like the page's scratchpad, where you can write values to it and then reference those values or bind to those values to something. So we have that, and then I'm also going to create another one because list refreshed. So I'm going to create
true false.
No, so the list refresh gets a fun JSON object in it.
Oh, okay.
When we need to refresh. Surprise. It's JSON. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to bind that list refresh parameter to the refresh requested box down here. And then eventually we're going to want to use that to refresh the list. But it's just something I remembered we're going to have to do. And I figured we would do it now. All right, so we have our client state parameter for the node ID. And we are going to use that to get some data from the server. So I am going to, do a lookup record. And I'm going to rename this to say lookup note.
Nope.
I've been trying to get in the habit of renaming at least my data resources.
Containers, not so much.
Good. Containers, that's a lot of work. Record, we want the state node ID. There's nothing in it right now. And then we want some fields. So we want the sysid. We want the title. We want the body. I think that looks right. And then we need to, I'm checking my notes. I did plan this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's configure these boxes a little bit. So this input, this is the title. And then its value is going to be what we get back from the server. So it's going to be lookup note result dot title dot value. Let's say display value. And then we're going to do something similar for the text area, where this is going to be the body, I guess we'll call it, and the value is the body and the display value.
The naming of the variables, a ritual we all fail at. You're doing better than me, though. I like the body. Mine probably would have come out as note, and then you have note.note, and you're like, wait, which one is what?
Like I have my notes page, my notes app, my notes page. Yeah,
exactly.
So now what we need to do is we need to say, hey, when I click on one of these, show that note over on the right here. So we're going to go to the simple list and go to the events, and we have this event for row clicked.
Here comes the magic.
And so I'm going to update the client state parameter that we created, which was note ID. And I'm going to use the payload of this event, right? So we added an event handler that's going to update that parameter with the payload from the event. So I know that on a list, the payload of a click is just the sysid of the thing that got clicked on. One thing that you can do is you can, you could use a script and log payloads and things like that. But we don't need to do that here. I think this will work. Let's see.
You know how hard this would have been in even Service Portal?
So
this is crazy.
Yep. So this looks like it's working. I'm clicking on notes and it's showing me the right stuff over here.
All right. I'm guessing the next step is create or save a note and refresh the list.
Yeah, I think the next step we will create, or we'll save a note. So we'll go in here and save the note.
And for some apps, this is a great application as it is. You may just want a list of things that you want to display off to the left or off to the right and say, there, I'm done. You don't really need to make updates and save them, but we're going to take it to that next step. That's kind of cool how easy that was just to define the client state parameter and tie that event to it.
Yeah, it was really easy to make those components talk to each other, which is kind of nice compared to like a service portal widget where you're scripting events and that sort of thing.
On and there's emit and there's broadcast and there's scope and root scope.
So we're going to get a couple more client state parameters to hold the values of those fields. So let's say, let's call this active note title. And I'm going to add active note body. All right, so now we've got spots for those, and we want to populate those client state parameters when somebody types in here. So let's go ahead and say input value set, and we're just gonna update those client state parameters again. So that was the title, and we're gonna use the payload again, the value. And then we will do the same thing for the text area.
You're getting to know your way around pretty good.
All right, and then, whoa. All right, so what we've configured is when I type into the title and then tab out of it or click somewhere else, we're going to populate that client state parameter with the value of it, and then we can use that to send to the server and update my note. So we're going to write, I think it's time to write a client script, and I have pre-written this client script to save us some time, but we will talk through what it does. So this is going to be, let's call it save note. All right, so for this one, I'm grabbing the sys ID of the note, and then we are setting variables for the title and the body. This, we're testing this because, you know, if you fired this up and hadn't changed these values, then those client state parameters would be blank and you wouldn't want to overwrite what you're sending to the server. So basically we're saying like, hey, if you didn't change anything and you hit save, we're still going to do something. There's different ways we could do this, but
there is another way you could do that in JavaScript without the if. You ever use the double bars?
The double bars.
So like if you put on line 11, it's right before the semicolon, you could put pipe or the double vertical bars, and then api.data.lookup record, blah, blah, blah. So it says, if this worked, then you get this value. If it didn't, then you get the other value. I do that all the time with like default values.
Yeah, isn't it it's like a question mark and then...
No, that's a ternary operator.
Oh.
That's for doing conditional assignments. This is, try to do the assignment, and if you get a null or an empty value, then take this secondary value.
Yeah. Okay.
I often do that for like, if you're getting a parameter and you want to check if the parameter was empty, you can always use a default value. So I do like, you know, if this piece didn't work of this assignment, pipe 0. And it says, look, if you didn't get anything from this other variable or field value or something, just you're going to use a 0.
So we're doing this. Does that look right?
That is, yeah, there you go. I would comment it out if
no comments.
Don't feel confident in that, but this is another notation of doing that. I love doing that.
Still work.
I'm not trying to obfuscate anything. There's certainly a beauty and an elegance and an ease of reading for the next person that comes along. But if you like your code a little tighter, this is one way to do it.
And I think we can, let's tighten this up a little bit. All right. So we are getting those values. Then we have our update query that we're creating here. And then we are going to execute a data resource that I haven't created yet, but we'll call it update note. And we will send those things in that data resource. So
Brad, correct me if I'm wrong. Check that script again. You may, I don't know if that was pasted in from somewhere else, but check those quotes on the query. Are they backticks?
They are backticks, yeah.
Are they supposed to be? Or are they supposed
They
to
are
be
supposed to be. I think this is an ES6 thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Wow.
So
I would have failed that one.
Nope, that's not how you spell update. Let's go update record. And for the update record and create record data resources, there's no properties to configure other than when you want it to run. For these, you are executing them. And I think we want to do that. We're executing them from a script pretty much every time. So let's rename this to update note. And then one more thing we're going to do is we're going to add a refresh list client script that we'll call and
I get the feeling your object's going to come back here soon.
So this is what you have to pass into this simple list to get it to refresh. So you're basically telling it, hey, refresh now. So you're setting that value to now. And we could, we could add like a couple of seconds, something if we
date now. Did we copyright that?
And then let's call this from the update note. So when it succeeds, we will refresh the list. There we go. I don't know, who thinks this is going to work?
It'll probably fail on those script mods I made you do. Do we need an update button, or this is just happening when
we do need yeah.
Tab or something.
Absolutely need an update button. So
new component time.
Let's add this. Yeah. Why are we sideways?
The viewers are just soaking this up. Really quiet chat today.
Let's get rid of that. And we are going to add this one after. And this is going to be a button. And we will call our button save. Like a disk or something.
Yeah, the old floppy disk icon.
Oh. There's so many icons. Let's see.
Is there one that says save maybe?
Oh, that could be tricky. Ah, there we go. Let's go save out. And then, yeah, we'll leave.
We're not far from the generation that's going to go, what is that icon supposed to be?
All right, so this should save our notes. So let's go try it. All right, we have a save button. Let's click into this guy and let's change the title to UI Builder Success.
I almost don't want it to work so we can find out how to debug it.
All right, so it didn't refresh the list. What if I do it again? Sometimes when using the refresh, and I haven't figured out exactly why this is the case, you have to execute the refresh twice to get it to work, right? So I had to click that button a second time. There's probably a reason for that. I haven't dug too deep into it. It's just something that I've run into a couple of times. So like if we refresh here and we're back at note 3, so new note 3, and I hit save. It did not refresh the list, but if I hit save again, well, that time it didn't work. It didn't
Uh-oh.
work either way. What happened?
Did it? But it did save it on the back end, I
And it
assume.
did. It saved it the first time. So let's see if it saved it on the back end. No, it didn't save it on the back end.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, we haven't clicked on anything, so that sysid is empty.
Well, that's a good note.
It's
Yeah.
just grabbing. So yeah, that's what the issue was. Note 1 changed.
So there's a data handoff thing going on. Or not?
Oh. What's going on? Here's the body.
Maybe we will get to see how you debug these.
I don't think it liked our, let's see if we had any errors. No. All right, it is sort of working.
Ship it.
So I think if we, here's the second note's title, changed, but don't change this. Oh, that worked.
Title worked.
Well, that's fun.
But changing both didn't change the title?
Yeah, so the title changed, and if we change out of it, change back in. Oh.
Uh-oh.
I think what we may, I wonder if we need to clear out these client state parameter values after we save.
Then would you be able to do a second save?
Oh, yeah. This is a good question. All right.
The management of the client state parameters.
We'll get more into that in a little bit, but I want to make sure we get a create button so we're creating new notes.
Okay.
So let's get there. So I think probably our problem is we need to set some initial values here. So I think we need to look up whatever the latest note is, and then set that sysid here. So that we have some initial values, and I can just click into this and hit save. But we'll pick that up. All right, so let's add it up at the top. I put that container inside. Oh well. So we're going to add another component. This will be another button. I want those to go in a row. Whoop. No, I don't. All right, so let's do this. So we want to add another component in here with a container.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to drag these guys into it. And then I can, so it is possible if you have not followed your own best practices and put everything in a container, you can still put them in a container after the fact. So there we go. That's all I wanted. I wanted the button there. And then let's
New.
There we go.
Oh, that looks good.
So we've got our button. Let's call it
New.
New. And then how about like a plus icon? Oh, there we go. And then we're going to need a client script for a new note. And this one is going to be a little bit simpler. And I think for the interest of time, we're just going to create a note with with some like dummy data in it. I think ideally you'd probably pop up a modal and let people type into it and then save it. We're not going to do that. So we're just going to set it with a title of title and a body of body because that's where we're at. And then I think I called everything new, so let's call this new note.
And that query works the same way as SysParm query on like the standard platform UI. It will use those as their default values.
Yeah.
Neat.
So the data resources that mutate data have this template fields property, and it's an encoded query. So you have to pass it a table, the fields, and then tell it whether you want to set display values or value values. All right, so let's add one more data resource. This is a create record. We're going to rename it to new note. And then I want to do the same thing where if this one succeeds, we will refresh the list. And that's one of the nice things with doing that in that client script is then I can just call that from any event in UI Builder when I want the list to refresh. Yeah, I think. Oh, and then we need to call it from here, new note. Let's save it, see if this thing works.
Moment of truth. There's the button.
I have a button. I'm going to hit it, and then I'm going to hit it again. There. So we got two new ones. This is this issue where the list doesn't refresh after the first one, which is a thing that we'll have to fix. So I can click into that and say, this was my new note. You should. All right,
Hey.
so I saved it. It updated there. Let's see if we do this one.
Did you click once or twice on that save?
I only clicked once.
So it did refresh. That was weird.
I think it did a refresh the second time I clicked new, and so maybe that was all it needed. I don't know. So let's.
You have to jolt it out of its complacency.
Oh, and that one worked. So wait, yeah, it did. All right, here it is.
That's when the developer goes, "What bug?"
Yeah, so I think we have, I think we have an MVP of this that is doing about what that other custom widgets training does. We've got, I don't know, we're about 40 minutes in. Should we call it a day, or should we try to fix a couple of things?
I'm curious how you would debug that. I mean, you opened up the client console and looked for some errors.
For the list refresh,
are there other ways in UI Builder that we can get behind the scenes and see, like, what are these client? What are the resources? What are the values of some of these things while it's running?
Yeah, so we can log some things. So maybe that's a good, like, maybe we can log from here and see if this is even running, right?
Dirk says, put it on share.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll stick.
Or we could put it into our source repository. We do have the ServiceNow Dev Program GitHub repo.
Yes, I think putting it on Git would be a good thing. So I'll clean it up a little this week, and we'll put it on there. So that was in the refresh. So if I say no,
okay.
No refresh test, and then let's do something here. All right. So
Click 1, nothing happened. Click 2.
Click 2, nothing happened. Or did it change? No refresh test. Third time's a charm? No?
Uh-oh.
So let's see if it actually did no refresh test.
You did refresh the page to load the new script.
I did, and it didn't call that data resource at all. Right, so the title did not reset. So
yeah,
this is that issue where we need a value in at the beginning of this.
Yep.
So let's try now.
There goes.
All right, so it did request that refresh,
but nothing happened.
Nothing happened, and if we do it again, that
feels like a race condition almost.
Yeah, I think that may be true because, right, we're sending it a timestamp. So maybe that first time it takes longer and we're past the, I'm not exactly sure how that works. So it probably is some sort of timing issue. So I will follow up with the UIB team. If any of them are watching, I would love to know why that behaves.
Send them the YouTube link.
So let's, one thing that we do need to do is we need to look up a value for this node ID at the very beginning. So let's do one of those. And
Bill just said, click it faster.
I'll just click it a whole bunch of times. That's what we all do anyway when something gets, that's what
Take out the debounce logic.
Whenever my kids get mad at their iPads or something, they just start hitting it a bunch of times. Okay, it's not going to help.
Hey, we see that in the corporate world all the time. If your printout didn't come out, you just send it a few more times, right? Why are there 16 jobs for the same print document?
I always tell them not to do it, and then I do the same thing if I'm upset with it. So this is a lookup records, and it's an important distinction. We have a lookup record here. In the lookup record, you have to give it a sys-ID. You get one record back. A lookup records is more like a glide record query, where you can get multiple records. So what we're going to do is we are going to find my notes table. And we do want notes where I am the author. And if I had a state field on this, maybe they would have to be open, but I do not. And then
or active or something, yeah.
I want back as the sys-ID, and then I only need one. So let's just take one record back. And then this is my favorite field because it's a string field.
Wow, how is that not a choice field?
Where order by, that's what I'm looking for. So let's just get the newest one. All right, so we have this sys-ID. Oh, what's the best way to do this? So we don't want to bind it to, I think we want to use a client script.
Okay.
Oh, and then we're going to run into another thing that let's just try it with a client script, and we may run into another issue. So this one, we have the array, then we have an object, and then it's sys-ID and then value. All right, so set initial, let's call it node ID. So we're going to say API.setState is how we state, that is node ID. Its value is going to be API.state dot. Oh no, it's data. Look up notes is what we want. Oh, this is a good learning moment. I think we need to refresh UI Builder.
I know that Service Portal was built on Service Portal. Was UI Builder built on UI Builder?
So UI Builder is not built on UI, like UI Builder wasn't used to build it, but it is built on the Now Experience framework.
Okay. So
So
these are all components.
yes. Oh, how did I highlight them all? All right, so now let's get in here. And there we have that. Oh, I forgot to rename that one. Lookup records 1. I think is it results? Wait. Result. Yeah, result. Wasn't there an array in there? Let's see. Lookup records 1 is results, and then that results is an array. So I think we need to grab the first element in the array, and then we have an object, and we need to do 0.sysid.value. Sounds right.
Yep.
So I'm nervous because this did not autocomplete for me. Node ID.
You want to see what it is.
I want to log this.
Yep.
Maybe. Thank you, chat, for results plural, Bill. That we would have lost about a minute on that at least.
That's always the hazard of scripting, right? You've got a choice between scripting and pragmatic.
Oh, we should call this thing, huh? Let's call this when this succeeds.
Okay.
Refresh.
Drum roll, please.
Hey. All right.
We got an initial value. Is it right?
We did. So let's see. Let's make sure that's the one that's coming up here. I'm going to check in another window and make sure that that sysid is right. This was my new note. Yeah. So that is the right one. So let's say, so we haven't clicked on anything, and does it refresh? That was the first click.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, come on.
We're gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad. Nothing. There we go. All right. Well, that part did work. We did get the correct sysid, which I'm still kind of surprised that the first thing we tried worked.
That never happens, especially
right.
live.
Let's see. How many clicks can we? Yeah. All right.
Maybe if you change the color.
I think that's a good stopping point. One thing I do while we're here in scripting, a thing that is kind of cool is this helpers. And where are they? Why is it not auto-completing? But let me show the script helpers. It's a thing that I didn't realize was there. But in UI Builder, there are these helpers that let you do things like set timeouts. That's probably the main one, is setting a timeout. It's basically, you know, things that you can generally do in client-side JavaScript that, you know, in UI Builder, your JavaScript is kind of running in a container, so you don't have access to all of the things that you normally do. So there's these helpers that give you access to some things like setting timeouts. There's another, you know, opening and closing modals, navigating, yeah, all of these things. So there's a translate one. So this is a thing that I discovered fairly recently. So if you are not aware of it, the helpers have some helpful functionality, which I guess is why they're called helpers. All right, and with that, I think we can stop the screen share here, and we will, yeah, stop the screen share, transition.
You're good.
All right, so yeah, we'll get that kind of cleaned up a little bit, some of the bugs ironed out, and get it posted. But you know, we had the bulk of that built in about 40 minutes, even though it didn't totally work right. So we'll get that hunted down and then post it to either Git or share.
Thanks, Brad. Good information.
Yeah.
And I know UI Builder is always a popular topic. Dirk was saying that there's lots of little gems that we throw into these. I still feel like I need to back up to like square one and go, just give me the general overview of UI Builder. Then I can take off and go running, because I'm getting little bits and pieces here and there, and it's sort of like, you know, watching a movie without watching it front to back. So we'll get there. I'm also very excited to see some of the other components that come up. Like if you know, if there's a VTB component out there that lets you drag objects around and change their order, that kind of thing is very intriguing to me as well, because that changes the whole game of just what you can do with UI Builder and the experiences you can build out of that.
Yeah, there's a couple of pretty good Rome improvements where I don't know, how far away are we? We're a couple months away from being able to see those in early availability. But Rome has some good improvements that would have changed the way we did some of what we did today and made it easier. And then, you know, further on the roadmap, there are some cool components coming out for sure.
Very neat. All right, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Remember, if you haven't already done so, like, subscribe, turn the notifications on the YouTube so you know that when we're live, and of course, follow us on social media. And don't forget about those regional developer meetups, and keep an eye on the events page on the developer portal, developer.servicenow.com, and you can keep up to date on what's coming in your neighborhood, webinars. We've got a Tech Now that's coming up in a few weeks on DevOps, and then the July Tech Now is going to be on those Rome platform features. So look for those coming up as well. Till then, we'll talk to you real soon, if not sooner. Take care, everybody. Bye. Oh, I need the music.